Welcome back to the Ink and Imagination podcast. Today we'll dive into the article, Norwegian Wood, Pauses in the Flow of Time. I read Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami on a late autumn afternoon, with soft golden sunlight streaming through the window and leaves gently drifting outside. The words from the book seeped into my soul slowly, bit by bit, leaving indelible marks. This was not just a book, it was a journey deep into the dark recesses of the human spirit, a path that led me to reflect, to ache, and to immerse myself in the ambiguous emotions hovering between loneliness and hope. The novel unfolds like a stream of memories, taking me back to 1960s Japan. It was a time of societal upheaval, student protests, and the inner turmoil of a young generation caught between personal aspirations and the pressures of the era. The protagonist, Watanabe Toru, appears to be an ordinary young man, yet his soul is profound and brimming with unspoken sentiments. Through his narrative, we meet Naoko, a delicate, fragile fragment of beauty marked by deep scars, and Midori, a vivid flame of vitality, unconventional yet full of life. Two women, two contrasting facets, but both evoke emotions that are raw and profoundly human. The shadows of society and the soul. Murakami doesn't merely tell stories, he unveils overlapping layers of meaning between reality and human psychology. The societal issues in Norwegian Wood serve as a backdrop, but also mirror the inner chaos of the characters. The 1960s in Japan were a time of turbulent transition, where the younger generation grappled with conflicts between ideals and reality, tradition and modernity. Take Naoko, for instance, a character who seems to bear the weight of her own fragmentation. Naoko struggles not only with the ghosts of her past, but also with unspoken expectations and unnamed sorrows. In one poignant conversation, she tells Watanabe, "I don't know if I'll ever be whole again. Maybe everything inside me broke a long time ago, and I just didn't notice." This line lingered in my thoughts, compelling me to reflect on the wounds we often hide, the cracks that aren't easily visible, but quietly erode the soul. Through Naoko, Murakami reminds us that some pains never truly disappear. We merely learn to live alongside them. Alcohol, sex, and death in Norwegian Wood are not just manifestations, they are reflections of the restlessness that contemporary society fails to address. Alcohol serves as a temporary anesthetic, sex as a means to bridge the void, and death as the ultimate end to all suffering. These elements interweave to create a somber symphony, where individuals are constantly searching for meaning amidst chaos. One detail that haunts me is the dormitory where Watanabe lives. The bare room, the thin walls, and the sounds of strangers living close but never truly connecting. That space becomes a symbol of isolation, a place where each person exists in their own world, yet never truly belongs to one another. Loneliness as a repeated melody. If loneliness in Norwegian Wood could be likened to music, it would be a jazz tune, sometimes complex, sometimes simple, but always lingering. Watanabe is not just a storyteller, he is someone who fully embraces loneliness, treating it almost as a lifelong companion. In a scene where Watanabe strolls through the city on a rainy afternoon, Murakami writes, "Raindrops clung to the bus window. I sat alone, listening to the tires sliding through puddles. It felt as if the whole world was drifting by, leaving only me and my hazy thoughts." This imagery made me reflect on my own solitary moments. There are times when we find ourselves amid a bustling crowd yet feel utterly disconnected, as though severed from the world around us. Murakami doesn't portray loneliness as something pitiful. He imbues it with subtle depth. Loneliness isn't an enemy, but an inevitable part of life. Through Watanabe, Murakami even suggests that loneliness can be a source of strength, a means to confront oneself and grow. In real life, I believe many of us have faced feelings like Watanabe's, a sense of emptiness that defies definition. Norwegian Wood reminds us that sometimes simply accepting loneliness as a part of ourselves is the first step toward overcoming it. Love, fragments, and healing. Love in Norwegian Wood doesn't resemble the fairy tale romances of fiction. It's a love full of challenges, where people not only seek happiness, but also attempt to heal each other's wounds. Naoko and Watanabe form a pair that lingered in my thoughts. Their love feels like a fragile thread, binding them together yet constantly on the verge of breaking. Some of their conversations felt like echoes of my own inner thoughts. "I don't want to drag you down with me, but I also don't want to let you go. This isn't the voice of someone deeply in love, but the cry of a wavering soul, longing for support, yet fearful of becoming a burden. In contrast, Midori is a complete opposite. She not only brings hope to Watanabe, but also symbolizes vitality. Midori loves with a natural, unreserved honesty, unafraid to express her feelings. This stark contrast with Naoko adds richness to the story's portrayal of love. What I admire most is how Murakami doesn't try to resolve every relationship in the story. Some questions remain unanswered, and some loves never reach a conclusion. Yet this ambiguity is precisely what makes the story compelling. After all, life itself is much the same. Not everything has an answer, and not every love story is complete. Norwegian Wood, light at the end of the path. Ultimately, what moved me most while reading Norwegian Wood was its message of hope. Though the story is steeped in loss and sorrow, Murakami leaves readers with glimmers of light. One scene that stays with me is when Watanabe sits in a quiet garden, listening to birdsong and breathing in the fragrance of the plants. In that moment, he realizes that no matter how cruel life may be, there are always small, precious things that make us want to keep living. Murakami doesn't deny pain, but he reminds us that it is through pain that we truly come to appreciate the value of joy and happiness. This resonates deeply with my own life. Sometimes, a quiet afternoon, a good book, or a favorite piece of music is enough to soothe the weariness of the soul. Music, the soul of the story. An indispensable element of Norwegian Wood is its music, a subtle thread that connects the characters and elevates the emotions of the narrative. From its title alone, the novel draws inspiration from the Beatles' song Norwegian Wood, a gentle melody tinged with melancholy, much like the story Murakami tells. In Norwegian Wood, music is not merely a backdrop or a character's hobby. It is an integral part of the narrative flow. The melodies Watanabe listens to during moments of introspection seem to convey emotions he cannot articulate. For instance, when he listens to Mozart's Requiem, the profound grief and anguish in every note vividly echo the pain he feels after Naoko's passing. Murakami skillfully uses music to add depth to his characters. Naoko often plays the piano during her solitary moments, as if to release her pent-up emotions. In one poignant scene, she plays Eine kleine Nachtmusik, while Watanabe quietly listens. Here, music is not for entertainment, but a language through which two lost souls find a fragile connection. Midori, on the other hand, brings a different spirit, vibrant and modern. She enjoys folk-inspired songs with fresh arrangements, reflecting her bright and open personality. These tunes contrast perfectly with the classical pieces tied to Naoko, creating two emotional worlds that coexist in Watanabe's life. Murakami also reveals that music is more than something to hear. It is a space for reflection. Each piece that the characters cherish or happen to hear serves as a fragment of memory, enriching their inner landscapes. I believe many readers will see themselves in how the characters use music to soothe their restless souls. In Norwegian Wood, music acts as a bridge between memory and the present, between pain and healing. It is not just an inspiration, but a symbol of solace, reminding us that amidst life's chaos, there are still melodies we can lean on, listen to, and find peace in. If you've ever listened to Norwegian Wood, you might agree with me that the song feels like a soliloquy, carrying both sorrow and nostalgia, much like what Murakami creates in this novel. And just like music, Norwegian Wood is a work to be felt with the heart, quietly, profoundly, and with all its overflowing emotions. Closing thoughts, a journey of reflection and living with emotion. Norwegian Wood is an emotional journey, a space where I lived alongside the characters, felt their pains, and discovered a sense of empathy. Murakami skillfully guided me through the twists and turns of the human soul. And by the time I closed the book, I found that I understood not just the characters, but also myself a little better. This is a work that I believe offers a different experience with each reading, because we as readers change over time, and so too does the way we perceive its story. If you're looking for a book that offers more than just a narrative, that allows you to live within its pages, then let Norwegian Wood be your guide. Perhaps like me, you will also find a part of yourself within the pages of this book. Hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us. What about you? Have you read this book yet? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments below.